I think that's what we have to learn. How do I access Adobe UI course on NASCOM? I think someone from the NASCOM will be here very shortly. They'll be in a better position to make you understand how this is. All right, we will just quickly check the stats wherever we are, Instagram and LinkedIn, if there are any changes. Let's quickly go ahead and I remember I was on 2953 followers when I started this event. Let's go and see how's it going now. Wow, I just hit 3,000. That's awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks to everyone. In the meanwhile, let me take you to the next slide at least, and I'll tell you how the people who are on computer. This is for you guys majorly. Um, what you will need to do is you will need to go to a website on a different browser. Just open up a small window and open slido.com, and it will ask you to put down an event ID. So put down 10001, and it will take you to the event that we have here today. This will be the event where we will ask you the questions, and if you have any questions, you can put in a question there. How do we pick up your question? There are three simple rules, and all of those three things that you need to know are: one, it should have upvotes. If your question is relevant, it will have upvotes from fellow people. It should have your name, so do put down your name. And the question that has the maximum upvotes will be answered the first. Someone's asked a question: difference between UI and UX design. That is already on the board. So as soon as we get to the Q&A, I think we'll be in a better position to answer that as well. Please tell again the idea for Slido. It's on the screen. It's 10001. Is that better now? Everyone's muted. Great. All right, that sounds a little better. All right, I'll take the session second slide again. All right, I think I've got it. So Swati is facing a little challenge with the power today, so we're gonna excuse her for that. Let's start with getting onto the people who are on laptop. Uh, the website for the question and answers and as well as the polls that will be during the workshop is slido.com. I repeat, slido.com, and the event ID will be 10001. All right. All right, guys.
Hi, Nitin. This is Rinia. I guess you're on mute. Yeah,
All
no.
right. You can hear me loud and clear?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
All right. Awesome. So the guys that are on computer, have you guys logged in onto Slido and you've all got the keys? How about you just go to the chat pod and quickly type ready and we'll begin with this? All right, a lot of votes have come in for ready. Wow, I absolutely love the enthusiasm. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining in on a Friday evening. I know the weekend's gonna start. We'll make it worth the time here. I'm gonna quickly introduce myself. Um, I've been in the industry for over 13 years. I started off as an engineer, worked with several companies during my tenure, HCL, Microsoft, Pitney Bowes. But then I realized engineering was not something that I loved doing. And I explored that design and creativity was something that I loved doing more. So I moved to doing designing, and my career took a great learning when I moved into designing at Adobe. Stayed there for 7.5 years, and I realized that graphic design is something that excites me, but there is a little more to it that guides and binds it to the principles that it is. And that was where UX and UI came into picture. UX and UI is the framework in which whole of the design works. The entire design ecosystem is inside this framework. And then is when I started to learn a little more about it. 7.5 years I gave to Adobe, and then it was a time to take a plunge. I joined a very small firm based out of New Jersey called IT by Design, stayed there for a year, and then got a chance to work in the tech giant called NCR Corporation. This company is one of the leading companies in terms of UI and UX. They make hardware as well as software. I'm sure everyone has taken out money from ATM. NCR is a company that makes those ATM machines and the software that you operate on. So I'm sure every one of you would have interacted with NCRs. And this is what my journey has been. Um, We'll quickly begin with today's workshop, and the question of the workshop, the whole what it is based on is one design problem that I was given with. This is an example led workshop, so you'll understand a little more once we start off. Our problem statement for the task was design a smartphone app for our employees that runs a company provided smartphone, and it must provide information on relevant COVID-19 updates in the location that you are in, and the app must be non-intrusive and always running on. Now, this is a problem statement. Now, I want to understand from, let's quickly go ahead and take a poll. Is it the time where we can go and ask for people to quickly take it, right? Not in the live Q&A section. We will ask you to be a part of the one where it says you can ask these questions. All right. I'm going to run a poll. So there are two tabs on the top that you see. There's one Q&A and then there is polls, right? Do you guys see that? Yes. Oh, great. That's awesome. So there'll be a poll that is running now. You can just go there and there'll be few options that you can choose from. So let us know, what do you think would be the answer to our problem statement? All right. Our answers have started to come in. People say we need a sign in. So majority of the people say it should only show updates. And then there's someone who says we need a social media share as well. Oh, you need to tell the world how much it's affected. All right, all right. The votes are dropping in 75 votes, 87, and the number is going up. 112, 129 people have voted. Wow, awesome. All right. There are about 460 people. Is there anyone who's still left to vote? We're gonna stop the voting in a couple of seconds. So I think everyone has understood the design problem very well. The votes show that 72% of the people say it only needs to show update. And no one does really like ads, that's for sure. 5% of the people only said that they need ads. Okay, great. All right, it's time we stop the poll and see the results. 253 votes came in. View results. 37. We have a total of 253 people who voted, and 37 people said it requires a sign in. 75 people said it just needs a show update. And that is exactly what is a design problem solution. We need to design an app that runs on a smartphone that the employee of an organization can use on a company provided smartphone, and it must show relevant information related to COVID-19 at the location. The app should be non-intrusive and always running on. So these are our problems that we addressed. Okay, that's exactly what I made you understand. This is the problem. Then when we bifurcate the whole problem statement into smaller issues and we address them one by one. Owing to the COVID-19 pandemic, the company was unable to reach to all of its employees and they were given a work from home situation. The company wanted to broadcast or announce important updates related to the company and the pandemic, which they were not able to. Working from the home, everyone's not in front of the system all the time. So there is a chance that they might miss the information the company has sent to them if it's an important information. So they just wanted it to be on a more, the information should reach to its employees in a more convenient manner. So they thought of making it as an app. Now, this company's employees are working round the clock in this pandemic. And it's very much possible that they miss what is happening in their city if there's any important information. Or say, for example, there's a lockdown being implemented. So we decided at the company that our global help center will update the app timely and send on all the details and required information to the users, and also, if necessary, send out push notifications. What this will do is that this will enable our employees to have the latest updates and developments in the places nearby available to them. And in case of an emergency broadcast, we can definitely let them know. All right. Now that we have set the context of the problem, I have another question. I am sure a lot of people must be thinking that we have ascertained what the app does, but what should be the OS, right? Let's take a guess game here. What would you think would it be? This is a multinational company based out of United States, and they are just thinking. Another poll is up on the screen now, and this is a company provided phone, remember. So I'm just trying to see how many people would take a rough guess, but this is a question that we'll not assume. This is a question we are going to ask all the users, that what is the operating system of the mobile app that we are going to make. 153 votes and counting. All right, guys, I'm gonna give it another 30 seconds and then we're gonna stop this poll. 227 votes. Last 10 seconds.
ओ खड़ो खड़ो कहाँ है कितने बजे जा रहे हैं हाँ वो खुद कर रहा हूँ ना वो भी देख रहा हूँ नहीं देख रहा मतलब वो भी
All right, the poll is up. We have got 247 votes. Let's quickly go ahead and see the results. All right, 89% of the people have said this is going to be an Android, and only 11% people have said that this is an iOS. This is something as a question we as a designer will ask, but we will not assume. So even I was in the scenario of a similar state when I went ahead and asked my stakeholders, will it be an iOS or an Android app? To my amusement, I was thinking it's going to be an Android, but it came out that I had to develop this app on an iOS platform because it's a company provided phone. And in the United States, most of the companies only provide an iPhone to their employees. Now, this is a question that as a designer, we will not assume, but we will always go and ask the stakeholders. Rule, something that we never do in a user experience, is we never assume. We always ask the question, right? Okay. One more quick question then. Are you up for the next poll? Okay. On the same page again, the next poll gets in up. Should the app have a light UI or a dark UI? And the votes have started to come in. 25 votes. By the time I can read the number, the votes are going up. Oh my God, you guys are amazing. 147, 61. We are close to 200 mark. Okay. There are few who say light, and it's going to be a tie. 42, 58. Again, these are those questions that we will not assume. We will ask the users. We must provide both the options. Or in the meanwhile, those who voted and the others are voting, anyone who thinks why dark or why light can just put it in the chat pod. Why do you think light? Why do you think dark? Dark is much cooler. Oh, wow. Dark theme is preferred by the Gen Z, while old is preferred the light. All right, fair enough. Someone said eye relation and battery saving. Yes, you're very right. Dark is more comfortable to the eyes, Pratik says. All right, we're going to leave another 30 seconds. We have 259 votes. Let's stop the poll. All right, and let's view the results. So 60% of 260 people, 260 people say, 60% of 260 people say it should be a dark theme. And 40% of 260 people say it should be a light theme. That's very nice. But again, we will always ask these questions to the people who we are developing an app for. This is something that we will not assume, right? Okay. Do you want another poll? Quickly, a yes or a no in the chat pod. One last poll. Are you guys enjoying it? All right. One more poll goes up. This is the second last poll of the event. It says, do we need a social sharing on this app? Remember the problem statement before you answer. Remember, this is a very important question. I'll put the problem statement right in front, read it, and then again answer it. Do we need social sharing on it? It's going to be a tie. It's very close. 50% people have. Wow. This feels like a 2020 match. Yes, there are a lot of people who are answering it right, and I can see people want to change their answers on the chat. Wow, this is interesting. We are on the deciding vote of it, 259 votes in. Last 10 seconds. All right, guys, we are going to stop this poll now and let's see the results. Wow, this is such a close voting. 265 people voted. 130 people, 50% of the people nearly said yes, and the rest said no. Well, the right answer to this is no, because our problem statement clearly says this is an app which is displaying relevant information and updates at your location. It is a non-intrusive app and it's always on. There is no need for social sharing. That is absolutely right. All right. That was such amazing response on it. All right. I'm going to put out the questions that I asked to 30 stakeholders that were there who had a critical decision to make while I was making this app. And here are those answers. All right, Varun, I'll be a little louder. Though I'm gonna push my volume a little more. Okay, is this a little bit better? Are you guys able to hear me loud and clear? Yes. All right, Varun, I think you'll need to push in your volume a little louder because I am really speaking out loud. Great. So if you can see, these were the questions that I asked all of those stakeholders, and the stakeholders were CEOs, directors, uh, SDMs of the company, HR head. These are the people who were involved in decision making for this application. What does the app need to do? Was my first question. The answer that I received from them was only provide critical and important information about COVID-19. That was the first and the most important. I'm going to mute someone. All right. That was the most important ask of the application. All right. Then I asked them what operating system it will be because it was a company phone. I was expecting either an Android or an iOS. I was very happy if it would be Android, but it's not. It was an iOS based because it was a company phone for a company that's based in New Jersey and gave iPhones to all its people. 100% people, 30 or 30 people in that room gave me an answer that it has to be iOS. Will there be a login required? No, because it's just an information. It's on a company phone. We know there is no need for a login. All right. Do we require a social sharing? No. Again, why do we need it? It's not everyone knows about this. Is for a company to provide an information to you. You should be aware of what's happening around you. If you want, you can let everyone else know by taking a screenshot, sending it, or having it on the internet. Nothing to do with the app. Dark UI or a light UI was my next question because when you stay ahead of the design curve, you already know what's trending in the market. With all those companies, something like Samsung, Realme, OnePlus, Apple, everyone's coming with a dark UI. Why? Every research, every question that you ask has to have a reason behind it. And the reason is the research. The research says 68% of the people who are working on dark UI can look at the screen for much more longer time. Someone said it's relaxing for the eyes. Yes, it's not relaxing, but it's less straining, I would say. And obviously, like Zubair said, it saves battery. Yes, it does. So it does not allow or it does not take as much power as a white screen does. All right. These are the questions that I asked them. But as a designer, when you're working on UX and UI, you need to add some value to what project you're doing. And the value add was, is there any smart feature that I can apply to my product? Which was yes. Everyone is wearing a smart wearable these days. Okay, how many of you actually wear a smartwatch? Just drop a boom in the chat pod. All right, a lot of people actually don't use it. That's good to hear, but a lot of people do. So there are people who use smartphones and they also are into smart wearables these days. And the people who are into smart wearables like to use a smartwatch, either an Apple Watch, a Samsung, Oppo, OnePlus, or any other brand for that matter, Huawei. And all of those people who use, they also would like to get a notification on their smartwatch. So what I did was that as a value addition to this project, if there was a company information, a broadcast being sent to the app, it will also send it to the smartwatch just in case anyone is using. All right. Now, the next couple of screens, I will take you through walkthrough of the screens that were made and the process I started off with. This was the very first idea which came down and will be called as a very low fidelity wireframe. This is just how our first thought of the application was. We launch our application, there will be a splash screen, there'll be 5 screens because I really wanted it to be very minimal. There should not be a lot of things in it. So there are 5 screens that the app will have. Our application, which will inform the users about the latest COVID-19 updates, not requiring any login. It just takes you straight to the app. If a user clicks on the box for the information, then he will look, he'll get the statistics in detail on the next screen. Once he's there, he can choose to either look at the information, go to announcements, check for updates, or go back. Once he's done that, the screen where the user reads our latest organization and announcements will be displayed. And when the user exits out of this, the whole user flow comes to an end. The app minimizes onto a small floating window, which is always on the home screen. This is where the USP of the app was that this was a non-intrusive app. It will never hamper your work. How many of you have Arogya Setu and are absolutely appalled at having that constant notification on the bar? How many of you use that? How many of you have seen it? Is that irritating? Just write a yes or a no. We see yes, 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 no, 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 yes, yes, I am. Irritates a lot. All right. So if you understand that as a user, you are getting irritated by it, just imagine when it will be constantly on your phone, how irritating it will be. Someone, Rahul Yadav, very, very important point. You said it needs a Bluetooth to be turned on all the time. Why do you need a Bluetooth? That's a design problem he's addressing.
वीडियो
Why
भी
do you need
चल
a
रहा है
Bluetooth?
नेस होम का.
Why do you need a Bluetooth on? No idea. Even I would not. But if given a chance, I would ask them. GPS, yes, it's important because it will need to know where you are and if you are near a contamination zone or something like that. So that's important. Okay. That was the reason why we started off with having a non-intrusive app. We were trying to develop an app which is non-intrusive, which does not let you move away from what you are doing. It should never hamper. You should not be even getting to know if it already exists there or not. All right. These were the few early sketches that I made. I am absolutely bad at drawing. You can see that. But this is what a low fidelity early sketch of it would look like because it says that you should know how it will. Yes, correct. There's someone says I wrote a review for special outdoor and indoor mode. They said working on that. That's an iteration. That's a design problem you solved for them. Congratulations. After we have done the early sketches, the next phase in the design cycle is when you start and set up the environment. Now we've already established that this is for iOS. We've already established that this is for a dark theme. So we already know that we're going to use a dark background, a black background. We only need some contrast colors so that our data, whatever we want to show, should pop out, right? So we established that we're going to use one font, which was company's official font, and the color, white, red, and a gray as a neutral tone. Once we've established the environment, these were the application screens that we designed. The very first screen that you see is the default splash screen, which stays on for a few seconds as soon as you launch the app. I've given it a time that it stays for 3 seconds. Why is this needed? People could also say you can just launch an app directly, because this is a non-intrusive app, so it keeps running in the background. But as soon as you launch the application, it will need to fetch in more statistical data from the website, which has the latest information of the location that a user is in. As soon as the splash screen goes off, it automatically moves to the home screen, which is the one that you see on the right. If the user clicks on any of the boxes, it takes them to the next more detailed view of the app. Since this was a very simple app, we did not have any instructions, no interaction. It was just simple information that one can see. Once the user wants out of it, the announcement is made. He's read the broadcast. He moves out of the app. The floating window on the phone or the app minimizes into a small floating window, which always resides on the home screen. Uh, there are a couple of people who are asking questions on the chat. Folks, I won't be really able to know an answer to all of those questions. The best idea to ask a question is if you go to that same Slido website, there's a tab for question and answer. You can just put down your question there, and if someone likes the question already, they will upvote for it. The more upvotes every question has, the one that's on the top, we will try to answer them, all of them, one by one. Right now, coming back to the slide that you see, um, the floating window. So the way to keep that app was to create a widget which is always on the app and refreshes, and you won't even know if it's there. It's just silently sitting there with refreshing all the information. Last but not the least was when we added a push notification to the smart wearables for the people that were there. So anyone who had a smart watch, a smart wearable, the notification that was sent from the company came down on their watch as well. So if in case they were away from their phone, they would still get the company notification. Right? These are the screens now in a bigger resolution, so you can just see how they were designed. There was hardly any interaction. There was no, just the statistics that were being shown. So only those are being there. Just in case anyone decided to, or any of the link was not working, I added a error 404. I wanted to add some humor to it. So that was the reason. So with this whole process between the UX and the UI, it actually tells what kind of things as a designer you should assume, rather ask, not assume. You should always ask the questions, because this is something that you're not designing for yourself. You're designing for many other people. So you'll always ask these questions to the user. Do your user research thoroughly to understand. All right, let's quickly go to the event and see people that have asked questions and that has been voted the most. We will just take them up quickly. All right, give me a minute. In the meanwhile, let me also have a sip of water. All right, guys, we have some questions. We have 90 questions. Oh my God. All right. So the question that has maximum number of votes is, what is the basic difference between UX and UI? The people who are trying to build their career in the design field of UX and UI, the most important part to understand is UX is the overarching strategy over all of these small practices that you did, right? User research, user interaction design, survey, all of these are small parts that come under the UX. UI is a smaller segment of the entire UX. Say, for example, using an iPhone is a user experience in itself, but UI is the development or design of what you see on that phone. A user interaction is called UI. A user experience is called, the whole experience of you using a product is called user experience. All right, I will quickly do away with that question now because we have done. Will we get a certificate for this? I am not sure if I'm the right guy to answer that. I'll leave that for the NASCOM guys to quickly get back to you and tell this.
Absolutely. Nitin, I can take it right now.
All right.
Thanks so much for your question. And apologies, Nitin, I had a sudden power cut, some problem.
That's okay.
My members were there and they were so kind to help in this situation. So I would like to say that this particular session is part of a bigger initiative that is being driven by NASCOM along with Adobe. And there are a couple of things that are part of this initiative. A is a certificate course that is there sitting on the NASCOM Future Skills platform. And if you guys are interested, I will share a link with all of you wherein you can register your details and we can make your account so that you can access the course there. I think most of you are anyway registered there, but in case you're not, write it in the chat room. Additionally, there is a national challenge which is going to come up, and that's why Nitin's session is even more, it's helpful in this scenario because the case study that he's taken here and the approach he used to solve it is going to be a good example for all of you students, faculty, and the working professionals who have joined us. So I'm going to request you all to carefully, follow him right now. And a recorded session of this will also be available to all of you. We will share the details of that national challenge as well with all of you very shortly by Monday. And whoever will be, the winners and the prominent learners as part of this session are going to be rewarded with certain vouchers, certain rewards that are there, along with certificate from NASCOM and Adobe. So in short, the answer to your question is that yes, there are certificates for being a part of this initiative. Be active, keep learning, and show us your progress in this entire learning that we are doing, this entire initiative we are doing for you. Thanks a lot. Over to you, Nitin.
Thank you. The next question we're going to take up is, which has got 33 votes. It's from Arjun Krishna SR. He asks, what is the importance of UX design in big product based companies like Google and Microsoft? Arjun, this is a very, very important question. So I'm going to highlight it. All the big product companies, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Adobe, these companies emphasize on user experience the most. These are the companies that delight every customer with the. Have you ever come across someone who says, I don't like Gmail's uh, whole user interface? No, you won't come across, because they have actually spent a lot of things. A team of 60 UX architects sat on that to make what Gmail looks like today. They have the biggest UX team, and not they started off with Gmail. They ventured into Meet. They ventured into everything that you can think of now, and that is the idea of all of those UX architects sitting there. All right. There's another question after this. I hope that I've answered that, Arjun. I'm going to mark that as done. Anonymously, someone has asked, as a final year student, how can we pursue UX and UI field? And is UI and UX designing better and a long-term career? Yes, UX and UI is a long-term career, because people are learning the field, this whole science of designing with this. Going forward, everything that you will work, or everything that you see as a product, comes with research, and all of the UX is going in. Even from a smallest phone to a large computer, desktop, laptop, software, anything involves a role of a UX architect. I'm going to mark that as done. And how do we access Adobe UX course on NASCOM? Swati, would you be kind to take this up?
Sorry, Nitin, can you just take up the question once again? Hello?
Sure. The
I
question
was
is,
having
how
any
do we
challenge.
access Adobe UX course on NASCOM?
Great. Okay. So as I mentioned to all of you, if you are not already registered on the platform, I will just share a link with all of you. I will share it in the Zoom chat room as well, and I will share it on the YouTube as well. And I would request you to, enter your details for us. Details are basically just your first name, last name, your institute name, and which area you are joining us from, your state, etc. And then we will create your logins. We will share it with you, and thereafter, you can join that link, and you will be provided the access to course. Okay, over to
All
you.
right. I hope that answers your question too. Next is from Yogesh. He says, is it useful in my resume? Yes, it will always be. Something like this is a discipline that you learn. If you ever tell anyone that you've learned or attended a workshop on UI and UX, they will know that you know what it is to work within the principles of design framework. So yes, it is always helpful. Scope of UI and UX in India, Nikita. I pronounced it right, right? Nikita. So the presence of UX and UI and the scope of it is increasing in India a lot. A lot of companies have started to actually look for great people, the talent that is coming across. People need to understand what kind of principle they want to stand, what are the design approaches they're going to take, what design thinking can they bring, and all of that talent, when you bring to any organization, they definitely value it. And the scope for that is India is getting recognized. Someone anonymously asked and has got an upvotes to it, so I'm going to answer that. It says, what is the tools that we use for a better UX design? See, again, you are referring, you're asking a question which is more related to UI design. UX design is something that is not related to tools. UI designing is something that, yes, it will be. So if you want to use tool, there could be something like an Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, Figma, Sketch, Balsamic, uh, Adobe XD. All of these are tools that you can use to have a make a better UI design. But more importantly, to have a good design, you need to have a clear and better understanding of all the design principles in the design system that you're working into. All right, we're going to take a couple of more questions. It says, till now, the program has introduced us to basics of UI and UX. When will we apply on this platform, learn tools in Adobe UX? I think Swati has already addressed to that, so we're going to skip that. Shrestha Gupta, how do you easily user research on any new idea, and what is the right way to do so? So there is no shortcut to user research, Reshna. When you know that you're designing something for the users, you will need to address to a lot of users. You're going to ask them a lot of questions. There are several techniques that people use to ask those questions and generate the kind of answers that they're needing. It could be through surveys, it could be through questionnaires, it could be meeting people physically, holding a meeting in a conference room with a lot of people. That is what gets you an actual result. There are some short ways also. People do a sampling when the target audience is very huge, and then they randomly choose samples, and that is how they do a user research. Usually there are people, there are companies that also help get user research done. All right, someone has asked how to document the prototype. I mean, how to document margins and padding and spacing, etc. All right, a very important question in UI designing. Um, when you want to do a prototype or you're making something which you need for, um, always remember there's a design system that will exist. If you're designing for mobile, if you're designing for web or tablet or POS system, any touch enabled device, there are guidelines in place, there are principles in place. Try to refer to that and you learn the maximum. All right, can you use a Ruby XG on Linux? Linux is not supported, my friend. I'm sorry about that. What is the scope of UI design? We've already answered that. All right, can we take a couple of more questions and see if there's any unique question? All right, Keshav Kothari has asked a question. At what level can we use whether will be taught today in real world application? Would we be able to build portfolios with it? I think I fairly understand this question, Keshav. Yes, this is a design approach that I have taken in a real world application. This was the whole agenda of the workshop today, to walk you through a live example wherein we built this application for a company and it was working fine. It, so definitely, if you followed through well, you can apply all of these learnings in a real-time design problem that you can showcase in your portfolio. All right. Swati, do we need to take more questions on it, or we can? I think we're good to go with this.
Absolutely. I actually joined in a little late, but I was going through, this Zoom questions.
Hmm.
I guess there's nothing really special, but just taking a very quick look. Yeah, nothing really. Nobody's written any. I think you would have already shared with the students, with all the attendees, right? That way they have to share their question, right?
Yes, yes, I did, and most of them have asked on Slido. So we've answered the one that has
Brilliant.
the highest votes. Anything above 7 and above, we've answered all of them.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, I think then we are sorted. You any other closing thoughts or anything from you?
I have a tip to give it to people who are building portfolios, and I think that's something that they can take back from this workshop is people who are trying to develop their portfolio and yet do not have something very strong to develop. Try and remember all of those learnings that you've learned today and go to a website called Daily UI Design Challenge. So this is a website that gives you new problems every day. Pick up one of a problem that they've given. It's a new idea that's in the market. No one has developed an app or probably is trying to develop an app and is not successful. Go to Daily Design Challenge, pick up a question, solve that design problem, make it an app of whatever they post as a question, and put it in your portfolio. That is something that will hit with everyone who's trying to interview you for a course like this. Or if you're looking to build a portfolio, this is where you start from. That would be all from my side. I will just have one last poll to take it, and I will run it by everyone. All right, guys, tell me, will you be open to one more poll? One more poll, guys. Last poll. All right.
Yes, they're all saying a big yes.
Yes, these are the people who I love the most. All right. The last poll is on. This is a small poll which will let me know how I've done and if you've learned everything from today's workshop, and if you would like future skills to take more workshops on such. So you can quickly just rate the overall workshop, and that'll be all from my side then. One hundred and 35 votes. Wow, that's an amazing number. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for that.
Glad. Nitin, you want me to unmute someone who wants to talk to us and perhaps talk a little bit about today's session, what they learned, what their feedback is, or if you've already had that with someone?
We've actually taken a lot of them in while they were
Oh,
all
is it?
doing.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
so they were
spoke with
continuing.
them?
In the starting, we spent a couple of minutes already with them. But yeah, if there's anyone,
Oh,
we can just let them unmute themselves now. And
exactly. I think I would love to hear one or two of them. I mean, sorry, I missed it. I had
no, no, that's perfectly fine.
power cut. Something happened in my area, and suddenly it went off. So if
All right.
one or two of you, you can just raise your hands, unmute yourself, and would love to hear you. You can give us a feedback, which institute you are from, what you're doing, and what you learned today, how you feel about it. Just something. I mean, it will be really nice. You can raise your hand. We can unmute you, or you can, I think, unmute yourself as well. Whatever suits you. Hey, look, we have so many hands. How nice. Okay, I'm gonna unmute, let's say, Yuganand Jerry. Okay, there you go. I've unmuted you, Yuganand. Okay, I did unmute you. Where did you go? Yuganand, I think you can unmute yourself also in that case.
We've allowed you to unmute.
Okay. In that scenario, I'll unmute someone else. I don't know what's going on. I'll unmute Rahul Yadav.
Hello.
Great.
Hi,
Someone is
Rahul.
unmuted.
Hello. Yeah, it was a great session, sir and ma'am. I really enjoyed it,
Brilliant.
and looking forward to learn this thing. But I have just one query to put here. I'm actually a Linux user, and I am using Linux from last 2 years, and I'm very comfortable with Linux. But Adobe XD is not available on Linux, so it's a setback.
I think
Oh,
if that's the case, Rahul, what you can do is we do understand that you would love to use XD, but there are other softwares that you can use which are browser based. Something like a Figma can be used on a browser base. So try learning that. It will help you. Once you've learned it, and whenever you want to choose, you want to go to Mac or Windows, you can switch to Adobe XD. It's fairly similar. There's not much of a difference.
One last, please.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Just want to ask that if I use that other thing that you said, like Figma, I think you said,
Hmm.
if I use that, will the training that I will get from this NASCOM, will that be synchronized with that app? I mean, will I be able to do that in the different thing, not Adobe XD?
The training is limited to you to teach design, right? It's not related to the tools that you use. Whatever you have learned can be used at any organization. It's not specific to Adobe, Oracle, or Google. It can be used anywhere.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
exactly.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Rahul.
Rahul, you're from which institute? May I ask you? Oops, I think he's gone back, muted himself. And just one more, I would just love to hear one more feedback. I will unmute, let's say, Pranjal this time. Pranjal, are you there? I've unmuted you.
Good evening, ma'am.
Hey, Pranjal, go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Sir, I love this session. Basically, actually, one of my friend a few days before he is doing web designing. Actually, before that session, I don't know about what is UX and UI. But after this, I'm totally inspired to learn more about UX and UI. So I'm doing that. So this session is awesome, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Pranjal, for your sweet words. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Brilliant. So on that note, we can close today's session then, Nitin.
All right, that sounds fair from my side. Thank you so much for joining in. And it was a Friday, so you probably would have your plans. Staying at home, stay safe, have food, enjoy. Have a great weekend ahead.
Okay. Thanks a lot, everyone, students, faculty, and some of the working professionals who joined us today. Please keep attending. Be connected with us. In fact, I can drop my email ID also for all of you. You can write to us here. And if you will have any questions, anything about the upcoming sessions, do write to me, or any other doubts, please stay connected and keep learning. This is not over. This is one part of the entire initiative that we are driving. So let's reinforce all of that as much as we can for you. Give us that opportunity. So I've written my email ID in the chat room, and you can use that. Okay, you write to us. Thanks so much on that note. Nitin, thanks so much, for joining us today, taking out your time, sharing your insights, you're mentoring so many students, faculty, professionals. I mean, that's the greatest thing you could do. We have your support, and we can't thank you enough for this. Um, Really,
It
you've been
is my pleasure,
inspiring.
Swati.
Thanks so much, Nitin. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Good day.
So on
Thank
that
you.
note, I'll be closing the session. I'll be closing the meeting, and have a great day, all of you.